Hello everyone. In today's class, we will be learning this new topic called as force, work and energy. So let's go ahead and learn. You must have played this very famous game out on a picnic sometime, isn't it? It is called the game of tug of war. Now, what happens during tug of war? You can see that the parties on either side try to defeat the other party by pulling them, by applying a lot of force, isn't it? Do their actions change um, result in any kind of change in the position, or how do they exactly win? Will the changes happen if the actions are not performed, if they don't pull each other on either sides? Not at all, isn't it? In order to change the position or in order to win, either parties have to pull the rope really hard or with a lot of force. So in general, there must be a pull or a push. So this pull or push is called as force. Force is something which we require to do any kind of job. We need to apply force so that an object can move. So in general, force can be defined as something like a push or a pull acting on an object, which enables the person to perform one particular task or a work. Force is push or pull. Let us see what are the different effects of force now. Force can put a stationary object in motion. Force has the capacity to move a stationary object, something like these examples. You can kick a ball which is not moving and it starts to perform some action. Or you can push a trolley which was stationary, and once you put force on it, once you apply force on it, it starts moving. So force can put a stationary object in motion. To move objects of heavier type, you need more force, isn't it? So more force is needed probably to push a trolley which is filled up with a lot of stuff, maybe in a supermarket. Next effect, force can slow down an object or stop its motion. Something like catching a ball, or as simple as stopping a ball from hitting the goal. So force can slow down an object or stop its motion. Thirdly, force helps a moving object to move faster. By increasing the speed, you can actually help the object move faster. Something like kicking a football with all the force, all the strength you have, or increasing the speed of the vehicle like a car for speeding up the movement or for going faster. So we use an accelerator, of course, in a car, and the object starts moving really fast. Next one, force can change the direction of a moving object. Something like this player playing baseball. So he hits the ball really hard based on where he wants the ball to land, isn't it? And the same goes well with football, cricket, or any game which requires a ball to be in the game. So force can actually change the direction of a moving object. Next, force can change the shape of an object. Something like what you're seeing in the picture. Something like squeezing a wet cloth to dry off excess water or to take off excess water. Another example, squeezing of lemon. You apply a significant amount of force on the lemon slice to squeeze out the lemon juice. So it changes the shape of how it looks. A potter doing his job, he has to give different shape to his objects by applying force, of course. And a simple example like this where you can use a sponge, a very useful thing, and it is very easy for you to apply a little amount of force and still make it happen to change the shape. That's about the effects of force. Now let us see which are the different types of forces and let us learn more about them one by one. First force we're going to learn about is muscular force. This is the force that is exerted by the muscles of our body. It could be either exercising, walking, skipping, or just carrying some luggage from here to there. You use your muscles for doing one particular action. So your muscles exert a certain amount of force as well. So this is muscular force. Next type of force is the gravitational force. I'm sure you would have heard about it as gravity. It is commonly called as gravity. Now this force is something which is exerted by the earth, which makes all the objects which are up to fall down towards the earth. Something like when you throw a ball up in the air, it comes back towards the earth due to gravity. The planets in our solar system move around the sun because of gravity. The moon revolves around the earth because of gravity. Another example is the waterfall has this downward movement because of the gravity. So this is gravitational force. Next force, type of force is magnetic force. Now, as the name says, magnetic force is the force exerted by a magnet on another magnet or magnetic material. Now, a magnetic material could be something like iron. Now, it has the capacity to be attracted by a magnet. So this sort of force is called as magnetic force. Next type of force is frictional force. Now, frictional force is also referred as an evil force. Sometimes it is really useful and sometimes it is not. Frictional force helps in slowing down the motion of a moving object or prevents the object from moving at all. Something like pushing across a bench or a furniture across the room. You can see that there's a force acting upon over here, which is preventing the man from pushing it any further. That is friction. Another example here would be rolling of a ball. Now you must have observed that when a ball is rolled across on the floor, after some time it starts to slow down and eventually stops. That is because of the frictional force acting on it. Now, frictional force always acts in the opposite direction of the movement of the object. That is how frictional force works. Next type of force is buoyant force. Buoyant force or upward thrust is the force exerted by the fluid or water on a body which is fully immersed or partially immersed in something like this duckling floater which we generally use. It is called as buoyant force. You must have seen even a boat or a ship sailing on water due to buoyant force. This buoyant force or the upward force, as I said, is also termed as upthrust. Next type of force we are learning is called electrostatic force. Electrostatic force, you must have had really interesting games in your science exhibition or in some kind of activity in your classes. This is how it is, isn't it? You must have played with a comb, rubbing it against your palm, and then you try to comb your hair and all the hair stands up almost something like this, isn't it? Now, why does this happen? This happens upon rubbing. That is because the particles become charged and they start to attract those small pieces like paper, etc. to attract on itself. So this force, which develops on substances, it could be plastic, glass, ebonite, because of the charge it carries, it starts to attract objects, but it has to be rubbed. Isn't it an interesting activity? Now you can see in this example, in the first picture, this girl's hair is actually forming a semicircle due to electrostatic force when she touches Van de Graaff's generator. Now that could be an interesting homework for you. Why don't you find out what is Van de Graaff generator and how exactly she got her hair to be up in the air like that? Of course it is electrostatic force, but there's more to it, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed learning. Until we meet next time, keep learning more and more.